Chapter 1146, Mystery of the Celestial Map. He examined the surroundings. He was in midair. There was air, but he was surrounded by darkness and some blinking stars. Lu Shu frowned. Is there anyone here? This scene was too strange. He had specially asked Nie Ting what did it feel like to step into a void. Nie Ting and Shi Xuejin both said that it was merely opening a door that connected to another space. Could it be that he got the wrong address? That was impossible. He should be able to reach the place he had in mind. Lu Shu was thinking about the yard in the Longmen Fortress. Something was wrong, but Lu Shu was not nervous because he was in his celestial map. Lu Shu figured that out when saw the regular arrangement in the huge nebula. Lu Shu was aware that it was not an accident but a place that he would definitely reach after stepping into a void. There must be something hiding inside that was waiting for him to find. However, the celestial map had always been in his body and he had not found anything hiding yet. At this moment, Lu Shu was even more curious about whether only his spirit or if his body had entered along with it. Lu Shu wanted to see if the celestial map was still in his body. Then, he realized that he was unable to see anything. Even his celestial powers had disappeared. At this moment, Lu Shu heard a sound from the night sky. I prepared the food. You guys should wash the dishes. You do it. Why aren't you doing it? Then let. Lu Shu did not know whether to laugh or to cry. Wasn't that Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao's voices? So, only his mind had entered the celestial map, it must be like that. Lu Shu heaved a sigh of relief. At least he could still go back. Lu Shu started to look for the secret in the celestial map. What exactly happened that made his mind enter the celestial map suddenly? Yet, only a few minutes passed before he heard a voice. Eh? Why is Brother Shu standing in front of the door? Exactly, Brother Shu, what are you doing? Xiaoyu, come quickly, what's wrong with Brother Shu? Then, Cheng Qiuqiao cried, what's wrong with you, Brother Shu, please be all right. Chen Zuan cried too, Brother Shu, if anything happens to you, how are we going to go to North America? We need to wake him up. Brother Shu, there's $100 on the floor. 250,000. Chen Zuan did not know what to do. If he can't wait up like that, it means that he had really fainted. Lu Shu gave a cold laugh. Ha! Ha! If he was not looking for the secrets in the celestial map, he would have slapped Chen Zuan's head. Lu Shu stopped thinking about what happened in the real world. With Lu Xiaoyu protecting him, nothing should go wrong. At this moment, Lu Shu suddenly saw Concealed Arrow, Corpse Dog, Seizing Thief, Non-Toxic and the Gourd flying towards him after leaving the main stars. Lu Shu felt connected as he looked at them. However, at this moment, the swords in the gourd looked very big. Instead of the swords enlarging, it felt as though he had shrunk. Concealed Arrow went beneath Lu Shu's feet in order to let Lu Shu fly. However, the gourd knocked the Concealed Arrow away and made Lu Shu sit on itself. Both the Concealed Arrow and the Corpse Dog felt annoyed but were afraid to offend the gourd. Lu Shu patted the gourd. Why are you so bossy? However, thinking about it, it was normal for the gourd to not listen to Lu Shu. In the past, he had regarded the gourd as a third party, and therefore he could use the gourd to block the divine lightning anytime he wanted. After all, the gourd was not obedient too. However now, be it the gourd, the Concealed Arrow or the Corpse Dog, he viewed them equally. Carrying Lu Shu, the gourd flew towards the edge of the celestial map. Lu Shu was stunned. That should be the location for the 6th and 7th nebula and had yet to be lit up. However, the next moment, the gourd had flown beyond the 9th nebula. When Lu Shu stood up and looked down at all the stars beneath him, a wave of emotions hit him. Lu Shu said calmly, what do you want me to see? The gourd spurted out patches of starlight. Lu Shu saw a sword standing calmly in the middle of the night sky. There was a drop of fresh blood on the tip of the sword. Lu Shu immediately grabbed the sword. It was entirely silver and it was delicate and sharp. He placed the sword horizontally in front of him and saw a line of small words engraved on it. I only need 30% of the scenery. Lu Shu was stunned. Then, he immediately realized that the sword belonged to the owner of the sword hut. How did that sword end up in the celestial map? Lu Shu found out that the sword's aura was similar to the celestial map. How did something that did not belong to the celestial map accomplish that? He examined the drop of blood on the tip of the sword closely. Lu Shu suddenly looked at the gourd. Let me ask you a question. If your answer is a yes, you nod your head. Or else, you shake your head. Did anyone use the blood on the sword's tip to sign a treaty of alliance with the celestial map? The gourd nodded and Lu Shu fell silent. He had roughly figured out what had happened. The celestial map seemed to be equal as it was comprised of both the bright and the dark maps. However, it was obvious that the bright part was the actual main component. Lu Shu did not know how the celestial map chose the dark map. However, this time, the celestial map had reached an agreement with the other party and had willingly taken up the dark map. Lu Shu turned the sword and was stunned again. There was another line of small words that was seemingly engraved at a later date. I don't even need 10% of the sceneries. I only want the person. When he was in the Luniverse, Lu Shu had once felt impressed by the spirit of the lady who wanted 30% of the scenery. However, for some reason, Lu Shu felt that it was a pity. The lady who was powerful enough to fight with the old King of Gods in the palace of the King of Gods gave up on what she wanted. She gave up everything and only wanted someone's heart. Lu Shu had initially thought that he would obtain a precious magical weapon when he arrived at the celestial map. However, he received another gift that was more special. As compared to this gift, the magical weapon was worth nothing. At this moment, a sound came from above the night sky. Lu Shu, I give you 3 seconds to open your eyes. Did you hear me? Lu Shu smiled and opened his eyes, causing his mind to return to the normal world. Lu Xiaoyu, you need to change your bad temper. I was only kidding, do you have to react like this to my joke? Lu Xiaoyu pouted and went back to the room. Lunatic. Brother Shu, are you really all right? Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao looked at each other. I felt like you weren't acting earlier on. Lu Shu paused for a moment and looked at Chen Zuan. Have you washed the dishes? Not yet, Chen Zuan said cautiously. With a loud slap, Lu Shu slapped the back of Chen Zuan's head and said. She told you to wash them. Chapter 1147, Fight. Brother Shu, Chen Zuan said righteously, I feel that you are purposely looking for an excuse to beat me up. That's not correct. Lu Shu glared at Chen Zuan, who said that there was $50,000 on the floor earlier on. Chen Zuan pointed at Cheng Qiuqiao. It was him. Lu Shu was so angry that he laughed. Trying to escape the blame? Chen Zuan felt wronged. Lu Shu was going to blackmail him, but he really did not have $50,000 with him. Lu Xiaoyu, who was sitting on the sofa, listened to the commotion outside. She was worried when Lu Shu stood there motionless earlier on. She knew that Lu Shu did not pretend to faint, but she did not know what exactly happened either. However, she did not expect Lu Shu to wake up after she called his name. She felt rather accomplished. Only she managed to wake him up. At this moment, Little Fury slowly moved towards the dining table. Lu Xiaoyu raised her eyebrows. Didn't I say that you don't have to wash the dishes? Come back. Little Fury was about to cry. After the commotion, he suddenly remembered that he was not done eating his food yet. Now, he could not eat anymore. Lu Shu went straight to where Nie Ting and Shi Xuejin was. When he stepped into the yard, a wave of green onion smell hit him. He also heard the sound of Shi Xuejin chopping the green onion. Shi Xuejin welcomed Lu Shu warmly. Have you eaten? There is millet porridge in the pot. Shi Xuejin acted as though he saw a gem. With Lu Shu in the heavenly network, wasn't he as precious as a gem? Nie Ting shot Shi Xuejin a look and said to Lu Shu, have you heard about the remains in North America opening? Do you have any plans? What other plans can I have other than to make a trip there? Lu Shu found a chair and sat down. We predict that the site will open in at least a week or two. Until now, there has only been strange phenomena. When do you plan to leave? Asked Nie Ting. Lu Shu thought about it. Then, he suddenly raised his head and said, hold on, are you guys not going? Can't you go alone? Asked Nie Ting.
Yeah.
The ninth heavenly king has already reached the master realm. What can other people do to you? Laughed Shi Xuejin happily. How many people on earth are worthy enough to be your opponent? After hearing that, Lu Shu laughed reservedly. Really? Fine, I will make a trip down. However, you have to take note. We suspect that some members in the Phoenix Society have already got involved with the Luniverse. Shi Xuejin passed Lu Shu a document. Amongst the army of soldiers you killed earlier on, we found out that they had contacted some of the members of the Phoenix Society. Moreover, the Phoenix Society is in North America. If the powers of the Luniverse wanted to use the space pathway without being found out, they had to get through the Phoenix Society first. Lu Shu understood what Shi Xuejin meant. It was impossible for the Phoenix Society to beat the powerful person behind the Luniverse. However, the Phoenix Society had many spies in North America. It would be difficult for the powerful person in the Luniverse to do anything there without the Phoenix Society's help. In the past, nobody was willing to speculate regarding a first-class organization. After all, everyone was a member of the Earth and it would be better for them to unite and fight against opponents. However, now, there was evidence showing that some people in the Phoenix Society were involved in this matter. What was left was to confirm if the entire Phoenix Society was already involved. Someone in the Luniverse must have stayed behind on Earth, analyzed Lu Shu. If they have prepared other plans to execute in the future, they would definitely be fully prepared on Earth. The culprit was extremely meticulous. Lu Shu felt that they would definitely have backup personnel situated near North America. It seemed like that person could have infiltrated the Phoenix Society. Shi Xuejin said, the best ending would be that only a small proportion of the members of the Phoenix Society were enticed by benefits. The worst ending would be that the entire Phoenix Society had decided to work with the Luniverse. Alright, I will check it out. However, it is alright even if the entire organization is working with the Luniverse. Lu Shu stood up and said as he walked out, they are assuming inferior roles anyway. The first-class organization Phoenix Society was viewed as inferior by Lu Shu. However, Lu Shu had a reason to think that way. After all, it was only a matter of minutes if the Wei Wu army decided to wipe out the entire Phoenix Society. Lu Shu wanted to find out who the spy sent by the Luniverse to North America was. He also wanted to find out the identity of the culprit. Duanmu Huangqi's name had already been recorded in his notebook, nobody else should be left out. Moreover, Lu Shu wanted to know what other things would be left in the site of North America. As he walked to the door, Lu Shu suddenly turned and looked at Nie Ting and Shi Xuejin. Have you guys figured it out? Shi Xuejin smiled gently. We want to know with what identity are you using to ask this question? Lu Shu thought about it and said. The ninth heavenly king. Then it won't be important even if we haven't figured it out, right? To us, you are the ninth heavenly king of the heavenly network, laughed Shi Xuejin. Lu Shu thought about it and said, what a sly reply. Forget it, I shall not ask any more. After Lu Shu turned and left, Shi Xuejin heaved a sigh of relief and said softly, I was so scared that he would kill me if I didn't give a correct reply. The person who was regarded as the demon king that could cause the end of the world by the Golden Foundation, was standing in front of him. It was inevitable for Shi Xuejin to say that. However, thinking about it again, Lu Shu was still Lu Shu. Although the other party was continuously changing, he changed for the better. The selfish young man from the orphanage had made peace with the world and had become a person whom everyone respected. Sure, Xuejin did not know how much ups and downs Lu Shu experienced internally as he grew up. He also did not know how many shocking things Lu Shu would do in the future. However, fortunately, Lu Shu was on his side. Sure, Xuejin turned to Nie Ting. Does that mean that we can go over to the Luniverse for fun in the future? We can't mess around in the heavenly network as after all, we are supposed to protect and guard against the Luniverse. However, there's nothing wrong if we fought for our teammates, right? Is Lu Shu counted as a legal resident? Asked Nie Ting. Yes, of course, sure. Xuejin was happy. He had an identification card, okay? Then, he is the person whom the heavenly network is protecting. Nie Ting smiled. Fighting for him is not counted as cheating. In the past, Lu Shu told Lu Xiaoyu that he would fight with the entire heavenly network. After all, the heavenly network maintained a good relationship with Lu Xiaoyu and Lu Shu, and gave them both a salary and magical stones. Now, both Nie Ting and Shi Xuejin wanted to help Lu Shu in the fight. Everyone used this term fight to hide their excitement. It was like karma, you would get rewarded for the kindness you offered to the world. Chapter 1148, Chen Zhuan's separation from his lowly interests. Yellowstone National Park had one of the biggest volcanoes in the world. One famous American disaster film storyline was about this volcano erupting. It was situated in Wyoming and was the largest park on Earth with a distance of more than 1,500 kilometers. The site opening was due to the discovery of lava exuding from the ground. Initially, the park management thought that the volcano was about to erupt, but the location of the lava was far from the volcano. Moreover, the lava was extremely strange. Later, a metahuman noticed that the creatures in the Yellowstone National Park started to mutate and the intensity of their spirit qi rose rapidly. Then, everyone realized that a site was about to open. Everyone thought that there would not be any more opening of sites as it had been too long since the last opening. Therefore, they were slow to react. The opening of the remains was not a secret. The Phoenix Society was unable to stop the news from spreading on time. In fact, the various large organizations had all tried to stop the news from spreading, but only the Heavenly Network succeeded. If the site opened in the Heavenly Network, none of the practitioners and metahumans in the world would know about it. After all, although finding treasures was a good thing, it was not worth sacrificing their lives over. To everyone, the Eastern country was mysterious and powerful. All of the 3 powerful individuals of the Shunsong Jing level belonged to that country. Practitioners and metahumans from all over the world rushed to North America either through legal or illegal means. To these new humans, it was too easy for them to enter illegally. Moreover, the Phoenix Society did not have the ability to stop the practitioners from entering. Both the metahumans and the practitioners were not worried about the actions that the Phoenix Society would take to stop them. Although there was a rank 1 expert in the Phoenix Society, after the battle on the Tiger's Back, his powers had greatly diminished and the numbers of the army had nearly dropped by half. With this overall power, they could not match up to the practitioners from all around the world. Therefore, most of the people camping in Yellowstone National Park were practitioners who were waiting for the opening of the site. Even the Phoenix Society were unable to confirm how these practitioners had entered. However, the practitioners and the large organizations knew that the trip would not be as simple as they thought it would be, as they were not sure if the Heavenly Network would attack. As they thought about this, they felt helpless as they could not do anything to the Heavenly Network. Someone built a tent in Yellowstone National Park and they looked like ordinary trekkers. The practitioners gathered together and it was said that there were tens of thousands of them in Yellowstone National Park. However, when they were dispersed across the 80,000-hectare park, they still looked quite dispersed. The practitioners who did not know each other tried not to stay together. Who knew what the background of those friendly people were? Someone mumbled as he lit up the bonfire, I wonder if the Heavenly Network would send people over? It's fine as long as they don't send the ninth heavenly king over, another person continued. Why? The people nearby stopped what they were doing. If other people were sent over, at the very most, we would end up empty-handed. However, if the ninth heavenly king was sent over, then things would be different. The person who spoke sounded angry. If we meet him, not only would we end up empty-handed, but we might also have to pay a huge price. Someone laughed. Brother, you must have experienced something. Everyone here had heard about the stories regarding the ninth heavenly king, but they did not expect to meet a victim here. I wonder how the ninth heavenly king looks like, so we can take preventive measures, said a person. The ninth heavenly king is extremely mysterious. Now that he had attained the Shinsong Jing, nobody could hurt him, the person who spoke initially said. If I find out that he is in the park, I will hide immediately and wait for the entire event to end. Only a few hundred people were in this campsite. Nearby, Lu Shu sat speechlessly. Lu Xiaoyu, Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao laughed as they heard the conversation. There were many Asians in Yellowstone National Park. Or rather, there were already quite a number of Asians in North America. The four of them did not attract anyone's attention as they blended in. Chen Zuan laughed sneakily. Brother Shu, what a reputation you have there. Lu Xiaoyu stared at Chen Zuan while hugging Little Fury. Stop trying to stir things up. Chen Zuan stopped talking. With Lu Xiaoyu around, only Lu Xiaoyu could tease Lu Shu or that person would be scolded by Lu Xiaoyu. Fatty, I realized that you are wearing simple outfits recently. Lu Shu looked at Chen Zuan. In the past, Chen Zuan's watch could be worth up to millions of dollars. Now, he removed his watch and the clothes he was wearing cost less than $100. It was normal if Lu Shu wore those clothes as he liked to do so. However, it was extremely unusual when Chen Zuan wore those. His car also disappeared. Chen Zuan sighed, although I am rich, my status in the family is still rather low. Back then, I wanted to train but most people don't believe in training. Now what? I became a person of a high status and became the top of the younger generation. Lu Shu listened quietly. All these years, not only was he changing, but Lu Xiaoyu, Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao were also changing for the better. Chen Zuan continued, in the past, my second master, eldest, second eldest and fourth eldest uncles looked down on me. Now, they are extremely friendly when they see me. However, I realized that I am no longer so keen on the materialistic life as I do not need those things to prove myself. I have separated myself from lowly interests. The younger generation all try to suck up to me but I don't really feel like interacting with them. The family of power and authority does not seem to fit me anymore. Therefore, I suddenly understood why Second Master Chen Bailey left the family. With different aspirations, they end up in different paths. I no longer look up to people like my uncles. You can't say it that way. Lu Shu shook his head. Everyone has their own aspirations. There's no such thing as a lowly aspiration. Cheng Qiuqiao suddenly asked, hold on, you mentioned about your eldest, second eldest and fourth eldest uncles. What about your third eldest uncle? Is he dead? Chen Zuan's face turned black immediately. My dad is the third eldest. Chapter 1149, Daylight Flame. This was the first time Lu Shu had brought Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao out on a mission, but he was not worried that they would create a mess. After all, they were rank 1 experts. Lu Shu was a master, Lu Xiaoyu had the bishop, who was a rank 1, and Anthony and Johnson, who were both masters. Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao were rank 1s. Thus, there were no shortcomings in the entire team. Their fault tolerance was very high. In this team, rank 1s were considered weak. This was something people did not even dare to imagine. What Lu Shu had to do now was to find possible spies from the Luniverse in the Phoenix Society. He was not worried about the relics. There was only one variable. Lu Shu had checked the place where magma had flown. Although the magma had died out, Lu Shu still felt a familiar force. This force started to appear during the dawn of the magically rich era. Then, it attempted to save a desperate situation during many crucial periods. It was the white flame in Lu Shu's heart. This was the reason why Lu Shu was able to suppress his temper and wait patiently. He could not understand why the magma in the relic would make him feel that way. Or was this a trap that someone who knew him well had deliberately laid for him? Lu Shu was not sure, but he was not afraid. When he passed by the resting troops in the Longmen fortress, he realized a clue that he had overlooked in the past, but had to pay attention to. Yu Fuyao had made the white flame in his heart jump in an unusual manner. Lu Shu did not know what this meant, but he knew that he did not understand Yu Fuyao as well as he had expected. Although she had killed many slave owners in front of him, this was simply a covert way of proving her innocence. But no matter whether it was Wen Zaifu or Yu Fuyao, he had to defend himself against them. There were many people who liked walking, and many people who liked climbing in Yellowstone National Park, but recently, these people did not come here. They were afraid of metahumans. The attitudes of ordinary people towards metahumans had relaxed, but after the attack of the slave owners, ordinary people were once again on the alert against metahumans and practitioners. Yellowstone National Park was a gathering place for practitioners. Only businessmen dared to come here. There were few people who had invisible storage equipment like Lu Shu. Many metahumans had come here a week ago. The food they had brought was running out, but they were not willing to go and buy more. They were worried that they would miss the best timing when the relics opened. Someone had started to make dinner in the campsite. The bonfire burned wildly, causing the blood vessels on the faces of those sitting near the fire to swell. Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao sat by the fire. As they waited for the food, they asked, "Brother Shu, why don't we go to the campsite near Grand Prismatic Spring? Many people are at that campsite. There are pretty practitioners wearing bikinis there as well. It seems fun." Lu Shu glanced at Chen Zuan. "We are more likely to be injured by the strange happenings in the early stages of the relics the closer we are to places with hot springs and volcanoes. If some strange creatures appear like last time, then it's fine. If you come into contact with magma, you will not even be able to cry. Even if it doesn't burn anyone, it will be difficult if the tents are burned." That seems to be the case. Chen Zuan nodded his head in pity. "I thought that I would be able to solve the problem of being single, but the campsite that you have chosen is full of aunties. Just now, an auntie touched my butt. I'd better receive compensation for industrial injuries." Lu Shu glanced at him. "If you get dragged into a forest, I will compensate you for industrial injuries." The auntie that Chen Zuan was talking about was not that old. It was simply Chen Zuan's way of speaking. Moreover, Lu Shu had chosen this campsite, as it was the closest to the Phoenix Society's campsite. The Phoenix Society did not allow outsiders to join their campsite. Lu Shu would definitely choose the closest site to observe them. The Phoenix Society knew that it could not prevent so many practitioners from entering Yellowstone National Park. Thus, they adopted an uncaring attitude, as if North America was not their territory. Lu Shu felt that it was the Phoenix Society's fault. Back then, they had insisted on fighting at the Changbai Mountains. This time, it was the Phoenix Society's turn to suffer the consequences of their own actions. At that moment, a white flame suddenly appeared over their heads against the setting sun. Then, it disappeared. It had not even appeared for 1 second, but the flame in Lu Shu's heart began to jump rapidly. It was as if they shared the same source. Lu Shu knew that he had come to the right place. Perhaps the Yellowstone National Park relics contained the most important secret about him. Even Lu Shu could not understand the white flame. If someone had deliberately left behind a treasure in the relics, it would not be a coincidence if a force that shared the same source as the white flame appeared. The fire-type metahumans in the campsites panicked. The other types seemed to be fine, but the fire-type metahumans realized that when they approached the magma and the flames, their fire-type powers would be temporarily suppressed. This was a very mysterious thing. If it only happened occasionally, it would be fine. But what would they do if they were completely unable to use their fire-type abilities after they entered the relics? It would be the equivalent of walking to their deaths. Some fire-type metahumans wanted to retreat, but they could not bear to leave behind the treasure in the relics. They wanted to take a gamble. What if they were fine when they entered? There were times when people lost their lives because of their shallow mentality towards luck. Lu Shu asked Cheng Qiuqiao to explore and see whether anything else had happened in addition to the strange incident in the sky. Cheng Qiuqiao returned in less than 20 minutes. He wanted to speak, but stopped. What's wrong? Lu Shu asked curiously. Cheng Qiuqiao went beside Lu Shu and softly said, I saw the deities. She is among them as well. The two words, the deities, was like a bow that was stretched taut in Lu Shu's brain. As for who she was, Cheng Qiuqiao did not need to explain. Lu Shu stopped moving. Lu Xiaoyu, who was cooking, did not seem to have heard what Cheng Qiuqiao had said and continued to cook. Chen Zuan looked at the tab on Lu Shu's ring finger. He rejoiced in Lu Shu's misfortune. He knew all too well that the Cheng'ing sword was in the Changbai Mountains. With Lu Shu's personality, he would have taken it back a long time ago, but he had yet to. Was Lu Shu the kind of person to leave his treasures lying around? No, unless he did not dare to take it. It was said that the onlooker saw more of the game. Lu Shu had always said that he would go if he had the chance to do so. Now, he had the ability to create voids, but had not gone there. Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao, who had witnessed the wedding, definitely knew why. Chapter 1150, Older Cousin. Lu Shu subconsciously rubbed his hands. How far away are they? They're 2 kilometers away. Over 3,000 people from the Phoenix Society have come, but there are not many people from the deities. There are only over 200 of them, said Cheng Qiuqiao. She has stayed at the Changbai Mountains for over a year. 2 relics have opened during that period, but she did not take part. I didn't expect her to suddenly leave the Changbai Mountains. What Cheng Qiuqiao meant was that she was here for Lu Shu. You talk too much. Lu Shu looked at Cheng Qiuqiao with an unkind expression on his face. To be honest, Lu Shu's feelings towards Coral were very complex. They had not thought about how they would treat each other when they met each other again. That wedding was like a scene that was only suitable to appear in their memories. Once they woke up from their dream, they should go their separate ways. But both of them could not differentiate whether it had been a dream or a reality. Lu Shu sat by the bonfire and pondered. Suddenly, there was some commotion in the campsite. It was as if an outsider had come. Lu Shu nervously looked at the source of the commotion, but met with unfamiliar faces. Lu Shu and the rest had not noticed these newcomers. This campsite had a good geographical position. Backpackers would also choose this place to set up camp. Thus, it was normal for new people to come. But to their surprise, these outsiders seemed to be rather well known among the secret practitioners. There were just over 10 of them. The waves of energy from their body were not weak, but Lu Shu and the rest did not think highly of them. Lu Shu looked at Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao. He wanted to see whether they recognized these newcomers. After he had returned from the Luniverse, he realized that he had to understand a lot of new information. He had to actively fill up the gaps in his understanding. But to Lu Shu, he focused on the bigger picture. He did not have the time to notice the new team of secret practitioners. Chen Zuan shook his head and softly said, I don't recognize them. They are probably an elite team who has risen in the past year. Since the battle at Tiger's Back, the large organizations have weakened. Many elite teams of secret practitioners have appeared. Yes. Cheng Qiuqiao nodded his head. In the past, the large organizations suppressed the secret practitioners. Once the large organizations have weakened, some secret practitioners who have joined forces can display their skills. It can be said that the battle at Tiger's Back had allowed the Heavenly Network to single-handedly change the realm of cultivation. This will be part of the history of cultivation. Lu Shu wanted to ask Chen Zuan to take pictures of these people. He wanted the Heavenly Network to obtain information on these people. But the strongest among this group of people were 2 rank 2s. Thus, he gave up on this idea. Lu Shu quietly listened. He did not expect these people to be well known among the secret practitioners. Some secret practitioners were loudly praising them for their actions. The more Lu Shu listened to them, the more he understood. The aim of this organization of elite secret practitioners had always been to expose the malicious deeds carried out by the large organizations. They would post these deeds on the internet and punish them. This was very popular among the secret practitioners. Furthermore, the strength of rank 2s in the large organizations were declining. They would not be able to do anything against these secret practitioners for now. Thus, they earned a name for themselves in the global cultivation realm. They were like knight-errants. Lu Shu did not have any ill feelings towards these people. Some felt that the method in which they privately passed judgment on these malicious deeds was wrong, but Lu Shu did not mind. After all, this occurred overseas. It had nothing to do with them. It would be fine as long as they did not disrupt the mission. Chang Qiuqiao softly said, "It seems like their leader has not arrived." Someone asked where their leader is. They replied that their leader would arrive later. "Oh. Don't care about them. We will mind our own business," said Lu Shu casually. After all, they are simply rank 2s. The probability that their leader is a rank 1 is not high. After all, rank 1s are rather rare, said Chang Qiuqiao. Even a rank 1 would be nothing, said Lu Shu. This exposed Lu Shu's great confidence. So what if their leader was rank 1? He had killed more rank 1s than he could count on one hand. At that moment, Lu Shu suddenly sensed someone spying on him. He felt a chill. When the group of secret practitioners had come, he was able to lie low. Why was he still being spied on? Had someone from the Luniverse been lying in ambush here, observing his actions? Lu Shu slowly sat down. Then, he took out a mirror from the Seal of Lands and looked behind him. When Lu Shu looked in the mirror, he did not know whether to laugh or to cry. A head had poked out of the forest and was recklessly observing Lu Shu. When the person realized that he had been discovered through the mirror, he even waved to say hello. If this person was not Coral's older cousin, who else would it be? The cousin's gaze was not kind. Of course, a small group of people from the deities did not think highly of Lu Shu. Their leader had gone to the Luotian Cultivation College, but there was no progress between the two of them. He had even caused their leader to waste over 1 year at the Changbai Mountains. Thus, her cousin had boldly come to observe Lu Shu as a means of protest. Of course, this was based on their understanding of Lu Shu. Even if he was discovered by Lu Shu, nothing would happen. Thus, he was reckless. They still hoped that there would be some progress between the two of them. Lu Shu knew that since her cousin had come, this meant that the deities definitely knew that he had come to Yellowstone National Park. Thus, there was a reason why their campsite was only 2 kilometers away. Who had revealed his whereabouts to the deities? Lu Shu felt that if it was not Nye Ting, then it was sure Xue Jin. The cousin did not seem to have any intentions of giving up. Lu Shu slowly kept the mirror in the Seal of Lands. Then, he took out the sun mirror. The cousin was puzzled. Why did you suddenly change the mirror? From Austin Sko's Distress, plus 666. A strong ray of light shone in his direction. The cousin covered his eyes and tumbled into the forest. Many people in the campsite looked over. They did not even have the time to react. Lu Shu waved his hand and innocently laughed, showing that he did not know what had happened either. Suddenly, they heard the voice of the cousin. Wait. I will reveal what is bad about you. Lu Shu was speechless. At that moment, a Caucasian lady from the elite secret practitioners walked out. She stretched her hand towards Lu Shu. Nice to meet you. Our leader is also of Asian descent. We are very interested in the Eastern countries. Since Lu Shu was sitting down, the lady had to bend over in order to shake Lu Shu's hand. Furthermore, the collar of the black vest she was wearing was very wide. Lu Xiaoyu expressionlessly looked at Lu Shu. Had he unlocked some hidden ability to flirt with others?
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty, man, we just putting on a show. Try to look to the heavens.